Hi all, so today in this video we are going to see about what are local variables, what is a rule input and what is the use of ABANG save function. Okay, so let's get first started on local variables. For that purpose I have created an expression rule. So for expression rule you can just go on new and create an expression rule. I have given name something as local variables. Okay, so let's see what are local variables. Okay, so let me open notepad. Here I have written local variables. So it is made up of two terms, local and variables. Okay, now let's see what are variables. Variables are something you can consider it as a kind of container which is used to store some value. Okay, and local are what? So local is like it is localized to that expression only. If you are using in that interface, then it will be localized to that interface only. If it is using expression, it is localized to that expression only. That we will see like how it works. Okay, and now how to define a local variable. For that there is a function in Appian called ABANG local variables. So within the ABANG local variables only local variables are defined. Okay, now how to define a local variable? So just write a term called local bang. So if you see here it is giving something a local bang. Okay, if I use local bang, so now it is there, but after that it is not giving any suggestion. It means now we have to choose our own name, like what local variable we want to define. For example, in C language, Python language, like we used to define like int a is equal to 5, int b is equal to 10, and we used to add like int a plus b, right? So let's write like I am giving like my first name. So local bang I want to define something as first name. So and now you can see here it is giving like improperly scoped variable. That's fine. Now after you have defined your variable, just give a colon, and now you have to define the first name, that is something as Vikas. So I have now defined it. In here you can see like I have not given the type. So local variable, like initially you don't have to define the type of local variables. Okay, so here we can note a point like initially it don't require any type. Type means data type. Okay, uh, data type, it doesn't require, initially it doesn't require any data type. Now you can see here I have defined the variable called local bang first name as Vikas. Okay, so now let's try to test this rule and let's see what is like, do we get any error or it shows the name as first name or not. Let me click on test rule. So you can see here we are getting a very like very generic error, you can see, and I suppose like many of us face this error sometimes. So it's saying that local variable expects final parameter to be its result value, not a definition of local variable first name. It means that local variable, from here we can deduce that local variables are made up of two parts. So let's try to note it down only. Okay, so it is first it is made up of like it requires two parameters. First of all, it requires a definition. We have to define the local variable and we have to call that local variable as well. Then only we can successfully call a local variable. First of all, we have to define and then we have to call it, because it is saying like it cannot be its result value. Only definition is not accepted. So what we can do now, how to call it? Just like any other function we have to call, we have to take their name to call it. What is the name of this local variable? Local bang first name. Local bang first name. And now you can see here it is now called and now tested. Now you can see I'm getting the first name as Vikas. Okay, and here let's see, here it is giving like what is the time, 1 millisecond. Okay, and what is the type of the variable? That is type is text type, but I have not defined it. Okay, here I have written like initially don't require any data type. I have not defined it. Based on value, based okay, so here we can write based on value type is auto automatically. So from here we can write that based on value type is automatically you can say like defined. Okay, and now there is another type of local bank variables, and here you can see whatever the local variable you define, either you called it or not called it, doesn't matter. Every local variable and their type and their value will be displayed here. Okay, so the type of these local variables will be defined here. Okay, so now let's see. Uh, that is a kind of, you can say, first part. Now what if I have a second name as well? Now how to do it? Okay, so local bank last name. Okay, so let me take first name as something as, now let's change the name as Asha, and the second name let me take it as Anusha. Okay, so here I have defined two local variables. Okay, it is giving some error. Oh, comma is not here. Okay, fine. Now I have defined two local variables. First is local bank first name, second is local bank last name. Now let's try to test it what it has. So here I have like here the local variable part is there, and it will contain, no matter you defined it or not defined it, it will show here. Okay, sorry, you called it or not called it, it will show here. But whatever the value you call, that will only be visible here, Asha. So you can see, so I have called local bank first name here as Asha, so Asha is here, fine, but I want the last name as well. What if I give a comma here and define the local bank last name as well? Then will it call it? Let's see. Now let's test it, and now you can see here again it has given one error, like local variable names are case insensitive, must be unique, duplicate local variables name found. So it is saying like some duplicate variables are found, like first of all you use first name here as well, and here as well it is you can see here unused local variable, it is saying there. So when you have to use multiple local variable as one, you have to give it an as an array. Now how to define an array? So array is something like within the curly braces. And now let's cut it all from, okay, cut it all, not copy, and let's paste it here. So now let's test the rule, and now you can see here it is saying like Asha Anusha. Okay, so it is saying like something as Asha Anusha. So now both the value got to know, like if only one value is there, directly call it. Okay, single value is there. Okay, so if you want to return single data, so like we can directly call it. And if we want multiple data, then we have to make an array and then call it, make an array and then call it. Okay, but first name is like not a but names are not like an array, like two values are not there, it is one value only. So best will be like not to call it like this, but concat function is there, it used to concat all the string values into one string value. Now test it, and now you can see here Asha Anusa is there. Okay, and here let me just format it a bit, but after this comma it, you can see here it is not giving any space, so let's add our own space. Okay, inside that we'll give comma and a bit of space, and now let's test it, and you can see like it is giving like this, but names don't require comma. Yeah, sorry yeah, now it is much better looking. Yeah, fine. So that part is done. Now let's save the change. What if I okay, now till this part I guess it is pretty much clear. Okay, okay, and let's say we can save the change as well. Okay, now what if I want to use this expression in some interface and use to store that value there, or we can pass some dynamic name? Can local variable do this? Let's try to see it. Okay, let's let me just create an interface here. Okay, let me give like local interface. Okay, something like this. So it will create an interface and we will try to see like can whatever the expression I have defined here, can it be used there or not. For example, I'm just using a simple text operator. Okay, and in the interface when you have came, so you can see array button is here as well. Like, so we will define a local variable. First of all, let's define a local variable a bang local variables, and now this here, and a local bang name. Like, let's define a local bang name in interface. And now in here, what do you want to store here? Okay, so I want to store whatever the value is in this expression. So just copy this rule, write here rule bang, and just paste it. So this rule is now ready. But let's test. But it is predefined only giving the name as Asha. I don't want that to be. I want to give my own name and then it should display that. So for this purpose, local variables cannot be used. Whatever you define it, it will be like this only. Okay. And one more thing is local variable. Let's see. So first name, last name was there. Okay. Initially don't require any. Second point. Initially don't require any data based on value. Type is automatically defined. So you can see here Asha name is what text. But if I give something as local bank number, some number I define it. Let's define like 5. Okay, so if I define 5, you can say okay. Okay. Let me just call something here as well. Okay, local bank 5 is there. So local bank 5, if I have defined, it will automatically become integer. Okay, if I give something as 5.7, it will become, you can say here, number decimal. Okay, if I give something as true, uh, true, if I give, it will become boolean. Okay, whatever the type you define it, it will become of that type. Okay, and you can call this as well. Let me just call the number 1, and it will return what? If it is boolean, it will return true. If I give something as here 8.95, something like this, so it will become kind decimal. So you can see whatever the value you define, it will take it. So that point also we have seen here. Okay, first was what are local and what is variable. Initially don't require data type, we have seen it. We two parts are there in local variable. You can say like two parts are there. First of all, we have to define it and then call it. Okay, if you don't call it, it won't come. And if for single data, like directly just call it. If you want like data should be single only, but if multiple data is there, then you can make an array as well, or you can use some functions like concat function can also be used to give a single data only. Multiple strings can be attached, so concat function can also be used here. Okay, and now we have to see like in interface, if I want to say something like this, then will it come here? Because this is in the expression, this is whatever the brackets you are seeing here, this is the arguments bracket, but it, you can see here nothing is coming here. So after that purpose only rule inputs come into picture. Okay, so rule inputs, if you expand this right side, this arrow is there, it will contain rule inputs. So now rule input will come into picture, that if you want to refer something from this interface to this interface, sorry, this expression to this interface, then rule inputs has to be used. Because you can see here I have defined the names here, but it is not coming, whatever the value I have defined, it is not coming here. Okay, it is not coming here. So it is we have to refer from this expression to the interface. So for that purpose we have to use. Now we will see about rule inputs. Okay, so in interface I made a bit change here. So you can see first name, last name, and I have also taken like a name. So what we will do here is I will take the first name, last name here, and I will denote the full name in this text box. Okay, and we will try to do with the help of the same expression. Can it be done or not? So you can see here I have called this expression here rule bank local variables. Okay, and in the first name we can give something as, let's say something as Kalyan is here, Kalyan Kumar, fine. And you can see, okay, it is not saving because I have not saved it. Okay, so what we will do is let's take a rule input here only. First name, instead of the local variables I am taking the rule input, so that it will be on the same page, expression also, and here interface as well, rule inputs we can take local as well, fine. So now let me just refer it value. Okay, value will be, it is first name, so I will take first name and it will save into rule input first name only. And for this part the value will be rule input last name, and here as well rule input last name, fine. So here if I gives any name as, let's say Kalyan, okay, and Kumar, fine, something like this I have given the name. You can see the rule input has been populated, and in the name what I have done is local bank name, and it will say, okay, for this one as well we will take a name, not local variable, any this name. Okay, so it is rule input name only. And you can see here rule input name is still null, it is not showing any value, because these values I have stored in local variable but they are not been passed into the expression, so that a concatenated form can be just like this can be obtained. It is not used here, so rule input come into pictures. So here we will create a rule input and we will refer that value there. So for example here first name, for the first name we will take f name text, okay, and for the last name we will take L name. So here you can see here the how rule inputs are defined. First of all we have to define a name of our rule input. Here as well we have defined first name, fine, and then we have to choose the type. We have seen the local variable, we don't have to choose the type, whatever the value we have written, type is defined after that, but before only we have to choose what kind of type it is. Okay, and now let us like delete this local variable part, currently we don't need it, fine. Okay, and instead of this local bank we will use RI, and instead of this f name, and here as well rule input, and this is L name, that's it. If I test it now, currently it is all empty, so it is not giving. Okay, so now let's write the name. Okay, so some user is there, a user input form you are working on, you collected the first name, you collected the last name, and then you have to show the full name of the user like this. Okay, so we have used that in the expression to understand the rule input. Now let's try to refresh our value once again, and you can see one error has now occurred. Whatever the rule inputs that you define in the expression or in any interface as well, you have to now refer it wherever you are using. So I'm using the expression here, and if you will go inside the expression here, you can see like two things are now displayed. What is the kind of the parameter, name of the parameter, and the type as well, what kind of value it will accept. Okay, so f name is here. If I type C, f name came, and in the f name, let's see, we will give first name here. Okay, and then L name is here, means last name, and we will give last name here. Two values are there, fine. So first name, last name, and then any value will be defined. So if I write now Kalyan Kumar, so the user should be able to see whatever the rule input. Okay, I have referred rule input name here, but rule input name will be empty. I should refer rule input name here, not rule input but local bank because the value is inside the local variable. And now you can see but if the user suppose entered like this, like first letter is not capital and you want to store the letter as capital letter, so you can make any change in here. Okay, whatever the value is concatenated, the same change can be done here, and whatever the value you want, it can be stored here. Okay, so we got to know like what are local variables, what are rule input, how it is used, and there are different data types of rule input that can be created. Currently you can see like text, number, decimal, date and time, boolean are there, many more are also there, okay, of any type. So this was just an basic overview of rule inputs and local variable, how they are used, when to use them. So rule input will be generally used when you want to refer some value. We have to refer this value from this expression to the interface, so we use the rule input. Why? Because in the expression we have used a simple expression of concat. Whatever the user given the first name, we have to show their full name. So for that purpose we have to use rule inputs. We had tried using local variable but nothing was coming. Okay, so that's all in this video for now. Thank you.